Welcome back to Hope is Here. My name is Greg Horn, and we are continuing our conversation about the 1978 Kentucky Wildcats NCAA basketball championship team. The men's team won that, led by Jack Gibbons, 41 points, and that was back before they had the three-point shot, so can imagine how many he would have had, probably easily 50 if they had that. But we've been talking with the unofficial team chaplain. They didn't have that as an official role back then, and really never have because of university separation of religion, but a lot of coaches have done that recently, but not quite probably as common back in the 70s. And we're talking with the unofficial team chaplain. He was a former senior pastor of Crestwood Christian Church. That's the Reverend David Blondell, and he did pregame devotions. Also, Coach Hall was a faithful member of and his family of his church there, Crestwood Christian Church. And also sometimes the players, they would just come on Sunday morning. So good to know that there is a spiritual part of that championship program and things that are carry on for the rest of your life. And we were talking yesterday in the program, and if you didn't get to hear that, I want to encourage you to go check that out on our website. We have podcasts of all our programs. Also a chance for you to donate if you want to help support our Hope is Here radio ministry. All you have to do is go to our website. It is hopeishere.today. That's hopeishere.today. But Reverend Blondell, we were talking about yesterday before we had to conclude our program about things that sports teaches us, and you were saying that you had a good story that you thought maybe might help parents with their children playing sports.
Well, yes, thank you, Greg. And whether or not the audience today heard what we said yesterday, this doesn't build upon that. Well, it does build upon it, but it's not tied to it. I remember having a story. Well, in my first pastorate out of college, I worked with one of the members of my church, and we had a little league team, and so it was a good experience and a rich, rewarding time to work with the young boys then, so. When I heard this story, it gave me a lot of fond memory clicks that went back to that time. But there was a coach of a little league team, and after the second or third inning, there was this young player whose parents were at the game. And the player wasn't one of his better players, but he was involved at different times. And so the coach called him up, though, and he said to him, well, in private, he wasn't before the whole group, he said, now, Johnny, I need to talk to you a little bit about sportsmanship. Yes, sir. He said, you know that this is a team sport, and everybody gets a chance to play. Yes, sir. He said, well, you also know that you have to look out for your other team members. Yes, sir. And, Johnny, it's not nice to yell at your team members and the boys on the team. Uh-huh. And you know that it's not nice to scream at a coach. Yes, sir. And you know it's not nice to badger the players in front of their peers. Yes, sir. And you know it's not nice to call the umpire bad names. Yes, sir. He said, okay, now go over there and tell that to your mother. So parents need to be as aware as their children, their sons or daughters, that any sport is an opportunity to relate to others and to depend upon others. And if it's a team sport such as basketball, obviously if you're a golfer, then it's all on your own back. But or tennis player, I guess. Golf's my game. But any group sport depends upon your attitude, your willingness, your cooperation, your respect for your fellow players. And I think that parents need to be aware of that and to help their children as they engage in group sports and organized sports.
Well, I think another one of the things, too, that, as we talk about this NCAA championship team from 1978 that you were a big part of with doing pregame devotion, trying to provide some spiritual guidance to this team. When they went to the Final Four in 1975, the freshmen, Givens and Roby and Phillips and James Lee, he says in the book 40 Minutes to Glory by Doug Brunk, that was the inside story about the Kentucky Wildcats 1978 championship season, that when they went the first time, obviously, hey, man, we're freshmen. Gosh, we went our freshman year. We'll make it several more times, so we're going to have fun and do as much sightseeing as we can, which, of course, they did not make it back again. They did win the NIT, which is great, but this time, since they were seniors, it was definitely their last time. They seemed to have a little more business-like approach, which a lot of people said it was the team that didn't have fun, but the flip side in the book, the players said, well, yeah, it wasn't that we didn't have fun, but we were on a mission, and our mission was to win the NCAA championship. Since you were a part of that team, what would you say? How would you describe that team?
Well, sure, there was a lot of pressure on them because they were expected to be good, and they had come close just 2 or 3 years before that, and a couple of years earlier, as you just indicated, and I had thought of, and I'd mentioned yesterday, they were in the NIT, and they won that NIT. There was a lot of pressure on them, but they had a common goal, and it's kind of like they didn't want to settle for anything less than the ultimate award or reward for their hard play. And I think it was said at different times, well, you don't have any fun playing. And I don't remember whether there was one or more than one that said it, but, we're having fun now, which was after they had won. But they had a common goal, and it tied them together. There was, there's an expression that you're bound together with hoops of steel. Well, they had a relationship with each other, and they depended upon and they respected the integrity of play of the other members, and they bound themselves together to do the task, and they won.
All right. Well, we've been talking with Reverend David Blondell. He was kind of the unofficial team chaplain for that 1978 NCAA championship team. We've been basing out of a book called 40 Minutes to Glory that was just released in February, celebrating the 40th anniversary of that 78 championship season. And Reverend David Blondell has several parts in the book. In fact, it's got most of what he used as his devotion before the NCAA championship game in St. Louis. A really good analogy using David and Goliath. So I want to encourage you to check that book out. But I want to ask you just a question separate from the book now, Reverend Blondell. Sports, one of the reasons I love it so much is because it teaches us so much about real life. And, in sports, you can't get too high emotionally off wins or too low in losses. Yet so many times I see people, in life, whether you're 12 or you're 62, that they get maybe too high on the good things in life, but they get too low on times when things get bad and they lose hope. And sports kind of teaches us that, doesn't it, that we can't get too high or too low after the wins or the losses. We're never as good as our best win, or we're never as bad as our worst loss. That's
right, exactly. One of the things that I recall that I did stress with that team and the others with whom I was engaged and associated, we all make mistakes. And even after the highs of one game, such as what took us to our current team, took us to the Sweet 16, well, the next game was not as high. It was pretty low. Well, during those times, the opportunity of what we think about ourselves and why we're down or what caused us not to be able to perform as well as before, there are various things, of course. But the thing that I learned long ago is that it's no shame to make a mistake. We all make mistakes. But the trick is we try to make new mistakes each time and not to repeat the same old mistakes. After all, as you know, and somebody coined the phrase years ago, to continue doing the same things time after time after time and expect different results, that's insanity. And so you can't go through the same things without learning from and gaining by, and then your performance becomes different. So making a mistake, that's all right. We all do it. But try to make a new one each time.
Yeah, I like that wisdom, and I do love that long, famous quote about the definition of insanity when we keep doing things the same way and to expect different results. My final question for you is just, what over your life, you're in your 80s now, what has been able to help you maintain hope in your life?
That's a humbling question, even at that. I don't know. I suppose that recognizing my own limitations, my inability to do some things, and the failure to do those things that I can, it's just a challenge well, I won't say every day because I don't think I face challenges every day, but nearly. But just recognizing that I've been given good opportunities. I've been blessed with many such, my association with these elite players who come out of the University of Kentucky. And yes, that's now been over 35 years ago, or 30 to 35. That was my last time. I think it was in 1985. And but I've had a lifetime of joy and fulfillment from knowing and interacting with those guys. And I do that with others. And to know how blessed I've been, it one day may not be like the next, but hopefully it'll be better than some of the last. So maintaining a sense of hope and courage, that does give me encouragement.
Well, you bring up a great point. It is kind of a daily choice, and being thankful for opportunities that you have. I recently just got back from going to New York City for the first time in my life, and I'm 52, so something I'd always wanted to do. And it was snowy in Lexington the 3 days I was there, and people were, is the weather okay up there? And they were thinking we were getting slammed, but it was actually almost 50 and sunny up there. And so I just kept being thankful the whole weekend I was there because of the weather. And the friend I was with, he kind of was like, man, you're awful happy about the weather. And I just said, man, I'm 10 years older than you, and I've learned to appreciate some of those simple things in life, such as good weather. Well, Reverend Blondell, it's been wonderful to have you here and go down memory lane with the 1978 NCAA championship team. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Well, thank you, Greg, for the invitation to do this and to be a part of your programs. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right, that was the Reverend David Blondell, the unofficial team chaplain for that 1978 NCAA championship basketball team. Man, as you can tell, with a lot of wisdom. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you'll join us tomorrow for Hope is Here. Let's be honest. Medicare can be really confusing. Scott County resident Jason Biddle has over 17 years helping seniors and retirees with issues surrounding Medicare, health care, and Social Security. Don't give yourself a headache. Contact Jason Biddle today with any insurance questions you have related to Medicare, health care, and Social Security. Contact Jason today for help at 502-395-1603. That's 502-395-1603.
CMI is your full-service human resources provider in Central Kentucky. For 15 years, CMI Human Resources has taken great pride in helping organizations and people work. Whether it's employee handbooks or help in filling a position, no job is too large or too small for CMI. Contact the professionals today at CMI Human Resources, 859-296-2800, or online at cmiconsulting.com.